Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into the world of the Arabian Nights. We're going beyond the usual adaptations, looking for those, surprising insights these stories offer about human nature, storytelling itself, and just the power of the fantastical.
Exactly. And we're working from some great excerpts here. It really is this intricate web of stories within stories. You've got genies, yes, but also these sudden transformations, complex plots for revenge, but also these, well, moments of incredible kindness popping up when you least expect it. And the supernatural, it's just woven into the fabric of life there.
Okay, let's really unpack this. Because they're not just simple fairy tales, are they? They give you this surprisingly deep look into, well, cultural values, anxieties, and the themes justice, love, betrayal, they still hit home today. Why do you think that is?
Well, maybe start with something that's quite jarring. Transformation. It happens constantly. People turned into animals or even partly into stone. And it's often tied to very specific reasons, specific conditions, like take the old man whose son becomes a calf and his wife a hind, all because of a steward's daughter wielding magic. And the only way back. He has to marry her, and she gets her revenge. But what struck you about him actually preferring his wife as a hind? That detail.
It is strange, isn't it, the specificity? Maybe it's about finding some connection. Even in the bizarre, like a hind is still a living creature, closer maybe than, I don't know, a rock. It feels like trying to grasp onto something familiar. And the marriage condition, that seems very much about power plays within the magic itself.
Exactly. The magic isn't just chaotic, it's a tool, often for control or punishment. Then there's the story where the narrator's own brothers get turned into black dogs by a fairy. She's furious at first, understandably, and then she shows mercy later on. What does that element tell us about even supernatural beings?
That maybe even immense power doesn't mean, purely one-dimensional emotions. There's a capacity for change, maybe empathy, even after rage. And the form dogs, that feels significant too. A clear demotion, right? Symbolic.
Definitely symbolic. Which raises questions about all these transformations, like the king who becomes half man, half marble, his wife's doing out of jealousy. That image is so potent. Frozen, powerless. What does that kind of extreme transformation say?
Maybe about the finality of some magic and how personal it gets. Brutal, even. It's not just waving wands, it's using the fantastical as a weapon in these really human, really messy conflicts.
Which brings us neatly to justice, revenge, and forgiveness. They're all tangled up. Think about the genius or genie trapped in the vase. The fisherman frees him, and the first thing the genie says is, "I'm going to kill you." What an introduction.
Right. Talk about power imbalance. He's been stuck for ages. His first instinct isn't thanks, it's dominance, sheer power assertion. But then the fisherman, he doesn't panic. Well, not entirely. He uses his wits, uses a story, essentially, to bargain his way out.
Which says something powerful about narrative itself, doesn't it? That a good story can even sway a magical being.
Absolutely. And then there's the flip side stories used for malice, like King Yunan and the physician Duban.
The vizier whispers this tale about a suspicious parrot, of all things, to poison the king's mind against the doctor who just cured him.
Yeah. That's insidious, isn't it? It's pure manipulation. Not evidence, just suggestion. Playing on fear.
And it works. Shows how easily fear can just override reason, even when someone's clearly helped you.
And the stakes get incredibly high. The tailor's apprentice, the genie princess, a tiny accident wounding a slave spirals completely out of control, ends up with a king transformed, and the princess facing this, well, horrific punishment. What does that level of reaction tell us?
That power in this world can be terrifyingly arbitrary.
Yeah.
And brutal. Justice, as we think of it, often seems completely absent. It's more about the rage of the powerful.
Yeah, the whim.
And sometimes the consequences are just unforeseen. Like the envious guy who chucks the dervish into a well. He has no idea it's inhabited by fairies and genia. It's almost darkly funny, his ignorance.
It really highlights this idea of hidden layers to reality in the Nights, doesn't it? Your actions can ripple out in ways you can't imagine because you're bumping up against forces you don't even know are there. A bit of a warning, maybe.
Could be. And then you have very specific magical interventions. The dervish using exactly 7 hairs to help the sultan's daughter. Why 7 hairs? What's the deal with these specific, almost ritualistic tools?
It suggests there is a system to the magic, maybe? Rules? Even if we don't get the rule book, these objects are like keys, catalysts, implying some deeper logic.
A hidden logic. Contrasted with the very human, almost farcical blame shifting we see, like the guy who accidentally kills someone and frames the doctor, then the purveyor. Or the other story, the fishbone death and blaming the Jewish doctor.
Oh, right. These are quite revealing, aren't they? About panic, avoiding responsibility at all costs. And yeah, depressingly, how quick people are to scapegoat along existing prejudice lines. Even in these fantastic settings, those human flaws shine right through.
Definitely. And one last bit on revenge. The paralyzed man getting back at the old hag who injured him. He uses disguise, cunning, no magic involved.
That's interesting. It shows human ingenuity, right? When you don't have magic, you use your brain, your ability to deceive to get what you want, even if it's revenge.
Yeah, but it's not all dark and vengeful. There are these moments of, well, unexpected help, real kindness. Sinbad is a prime example. He's constantly in peril, shipwrecked, captured.
Again and again.
Yeah, but he's also repeatedly saved. By a fairy, by random pepper gatherers he stumbles upon, even a king who gives him a home and suggests marriage. Why this constant cycle? Peril, then rescue.
Maybe it reflects life's unpredictability, but also perhaps a sort of underlying optimism. That help can come from anywhere. Sinbad's survival often relies purely on the kindness of others. It's a nice counterpoint to all the monsters and dangers.
It is. And think about the Caliph, Harun al-Rashid, going around in disguise. He seeks shelter with those 3 calendars, the one-eyed man and the porter. And the key moment is the porter promising not to ask questions about their strange appearances or stories.
That courtesy, that simple respect for their privacy, despite how weird it all looks. It creates a safe space, doesn't it? Allows them to share their stories, their misfortunes. It bridges the social gaps, creates empathy.
Exactly. Empathy. And the lady who helps Al-Nashar, the guy daydreaming about riches, who then smashes his entire basket of glassware.
Oh, I remember that one. He loses everything in an instant.
And this lady just gives him gold. A simple act, but it changes everything for him at that moment. What's the power there?
It shows how a small act of generosity, just a moment of seeing someone's despair, can completely redirect a life. Interconnectedness, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. And Sinbad, again, being rescued by mariners after escaping the old man of the sea. It's almost a pattern. Human connection saves the day.
Suggests you can't really go it alone, right? Even the great adventurer Sinbad needs community, needs help from others.
And we see individuals taking risks too. Sangier, the doorkeeper, warning Nureddin about the king's anger, giving him gold to escape. That's brave.
Definitely. Risking his own position, maybe his life, out of loyalty or compassion, shows individual moral courage.
Same with Shah Ibrahim, offering shelter and help to Nureddin and the Persian slave. Just pure hospitality.
And the gardener who helps Prince Camaralzaman shelters him, finds him treasure. It feels almost like a fairy tale archetype within the larger collection. Pure, selfless kindness.
Okay, let's shift to the objects themselves, the supernatural items, beyond just people changing shape. Like the physician Douban's magic polo club. It cures the king. It's more than just sports equipment, obviously.
Yeah, it's like a physical channel for magic, isn't it? A shortcut to healing that bypasses normal means. Adds that touch of wonder.
And that fountain in the deserted palace. Spouting diamonds and pearls instead of water. What does that evoke for you?
Just instant impossible wealth. Hidden potential, the idea that the world is fundamentally magical underneath, that reality can just flip.
Then there's Ajib's dream. The brass horse, the metal man in the boat, and that specific warning, don't say the name of Allah near this particular magic.
That feels different, doesn't it? More. Specific rules, maybe dangerous ones, suggests a complex interaction, maybe even tension, between different kinds of power, magical and divine.
Interesting. And the magic knife the princesses use to check if their brothers are okay, even far away, like a supernatural communication device.
Right. Magic overcoming distance, providing information security, strengthening those family ties across the miles.
And then the big quest items. The talking bird, the singing tree, the golden water, these are legendary, the bird especially. Giving advice. Even that weird tip about stuffed cucumbers with pearl sauce.
Yeah, that's wonderfully bizarre. These objects represent, what, ultimate goals. Knowledge, beauty, life itself. And the bird's strange advice, it's a reminder that wisdom isn't always conventional, right? Sometimes the weirdest path is the right one.
Definitely. And Princess Badur's talisman, the cornelian, it gets stolen by a bird, setting off this huge quest. Why is a small object so important?
It's a symbol, isn't it, of her connection to Camaralzaman, of her identity. Losing it is like losing a piece of herself, so the quest becomes deeply personal.
And you can't talk magical objects without mentioning the enchanted horse, the flying horse, capable of covering vast distances instantly.
The ultimate travel upgrade. It embodies that desire to just transcend limits, to explore, connect instantly, opens up the whole world.
So much of this also involves deception, disguise, people hiding who they are. like the third calendar shaving off his beard and eyebrows to travel unrecognized after his city falls. Purely practical survival.
Yeah, a very human response to chaos and danger, using anonymity to stay safe.
But then you have Princess Bedora disguising herself as Prince Camaralzaman after he disappears. That's more complex.
It really is. Shows her intelligence, her resourcefulness. She has to step into a male role to maintain order, to lead, challenges gender norms quite directly.
And the other princesses, helping her keep up the facade, adds layers of court intrigue, strategy.
Builds suspense too, waiting for the truth to come out. It lets the story explore identity and performance.
And even the tailor's apprentice using disguise, dressing as an old woman for revenge, shows it's a tactic used across the social spectrum.
Yeah, a more personal deception, but driven by that same desire to operate unseen to achieve a goal. Revenge, in his case.
And running through so many of these is love. Love, loss, and reunion. Camaralzaman and Bedora falling in love instantly while asleep, brought together by genie. That's peak magical romance.
It really is. Love at first sight, but amplified by the supernatural. Suggests destiny, a connection that transcends the ordinary.
And Prince Firuz Shah, seeing the Princess of Bengal via the enchanted horse, falling instantly in love and vowing to return properly. Classic romantic quest.
Shows love as this massive motivator, doesn't it? Driving him to great lengths to be worthy to reunite.
Then Camaralzaman again, forced into another marriage, but still yearning for the lady in the tower he glimpsed, and eventually finding happiness with her.
Suggests that true connection, genuine affection, can win out even over arranged marriages and social pressures.
So bringing it all together, the resolutions, how do things wrap up? You get the Caliph's judgment for Nureddin, and Nureddin chooses mercy over revenge against Sawi. That feels significant.
It does. It's a moment of grace. Shows that justice doesn't always have to mean punishment. Compassion can be the higher road.
Then there's the Sultan, overhearing the three sisters' wishes, one wanting to marry the Sultan himself, and he just grants them, almost on a whim.
Yeah, that one feels more arbitrary, maybe, reflecting the unpredictable nature of absolute power, or just fate playing out in surprising ways. A lighter touch.
And the three brothers searching for the magical items, failing in various ways, but their sister Princess Scheherazade succeeds. And they all eventually find acceptance with the Sultan.
Provides that sense of closure, right? Trials endured, wonders found, and ultimately a reward and belonging. Perseverance pays off.
So when we step back from all these individual stories, these twists and turns, what are the big takeaways for you from this dive into the Nights?
I think it's the incredible way they weave together very real human feelings. Desire, jealousy, loyalty, fear, with the completely unpredictable nature of, well, magic and fate. You see actions having consequences, sometimes direct, sometimes totally unforeseen. That constant back and forth between justice and revenge, and maybe, above all, the sheer power of storytelling itself to make sense of it all.
Yeah, what really stands out is the nuance. These aren't simple morality plays. The motivations are complex, often contradictory. You get these amazing glimpses into a different cultural world, but one that's grappling with things we still grapple with today. Those aha moments come from seeing our own humanity reflected in these fantastical settings.
And for you, listening, hoping to get a quick but still deep understanding, we hope this journey through some key moments in the Arabian Nights has shown just how much richness and complexity is packed in there.
Which maybe leads to a final thought to leave you with. Why do these ancient stories, full of genies and magic carpets, but also betrayal and suffering, still hold such power over us? What do these wild scenarios, these very human problems dressed in fantasy, tell us about our own hopes, our own fears, that ongoing search for meaning, for connection? Perhaps dipping back into the collection, reading another tale or two, might offer even more surprises about ourselves.